Welcome to the program, viewers. You are watching the News in Depth. My name is Kaluwa Champo. Today on the program, we are discussing a topic of great significance and a topic that is also of common interest to every Zambian. At age 16, Zambians are required to obtain a national registration document. This document is very important because it certifies your national identity. Today on the program, we are going to discuss the importance of this document, and we'll also discuss the obstacles that people face when trying to acquire this document. Please stay tuned.
The information being printed on the card.
The National Registration Card, a vital yet very difficult document to obtain, or so it seems. For locals, one has to prove that they were indeed born in Zambia, with birth records being a must. However, birth records for many are not readily available. Where birth records are not available, one has to tag along a legal guardian to the registration office as proof to say one is indeed a child of Zambia. Sometimes, even that too can prove to be a challenge. Once a young person reaches 16 years old, getting a green national registration card becomes imperative for many reasons. Apart from national identity, young people and many others alike use the card to access higher education and get employment. It is this identification that makes one feel part of the larger extended family, which shares in cultural, social, and political values. It enables many to go about their daily activities with little stress. The value attached to such documentation is not a mystery, and many in Zambia know its significance too well. Obtaining a national identification card is a tangible way of showing one's patriotism and pride in their country of origin.
Nangu apa mpondinga ndefo kusha banki unasha because ni kwata ndinga shikwete nishi 13 account mamona ngepi business tule pange at least pale ka red na ka account na wisulako red yoke thing fe bomba mandene
Regi itandiza mwana kudwala kapena vijakuti limbi asoba so olopena ngo regi asoba afunika kuzibika kwa mina achokera mwana uja regi itandiza munjira zambiri kapena afa regi ja itandiza kubana
The process of facilitating national identification has a historical backing, which dates back to the pre-independence era. Villagers in the colonial days could not move from one town to another without permits provided by the colonialists, which used to be referred to as Ichitupa. At the time of independence, the Zambian population stood at 3.6 million. The population estimates were known as a result of a mass registration process which took place when the Kenneth Kaunda government took office. Currently, the size of the population is estimated around 14 million. Of these, only 7 million are registered citizens. Given the fact that someone somewhere is turning 16 every single day, the department in charge of national registration expects the number of registered citizens to increase.
The actual as of now is 7 million that we have issued so far. But we may soon be 8 because a lot of people now are turning 16. You remember everybody else is, people are turning 16 every day and they need to be registered. So soon we should be at 8.
National identity distinguishes legal immigrants foreigners or non-Zambians from law-abiding citizens. Zambia issues 3 different primary national ID cards.
For a green card, one has to be 16 years and above in the Zambian. And then the pink one, it's issued to those applicants who come from Commonwealth countries. And then the blue ones are issued to those clients who come from non-Commonwealth countries. For the pink ones, one is eligible to have one when he or she has a valid passport and a valid permit, and if that person is staying for more than 3 months in the country. For Zambians, the code is 1. For Commonwealth, the code is 2, and the alien is 3.
Teenagers are required by law to be accompanied by their mothers, fathers, guardians, grandparents or close relatives who have personal information about them that they are required to present to the registration officers. It is worth noting that the registration process has in the last 5 decades evolved to suit the growing population and subsequent high demand for the service. Despite evolving, the problems experienced trying to access the NRC are many.
So this document, if care is to given, it means that you are plunging this country into turmoil or into a lot of problems. It may create a lot of undesirable activities by those that want to get this document and use it for such kind of things. If you are registering for the first time, you should come with a deponent. This could be any other person who knows about you and your family and historical background about that family. So you will come to see the officers, and then the officers will have an interview with you. Whilst interviewing you, the information is recorded and then is passed through the senior officer to validate the information. Soon after that, you have your photograph and it's pasted on the Nrc, laminated, and then it's given to you.
The experience of waiting for many days or even weeks still haunts those who have little option but to queue for long hours in assisting their relations to obtain this document.
Yala 3 days. Ndi mulaini na alafika tilaini yandi taifikire. Twala bwela kunganda na futi tukesaya mairo n'abafyashi. Twala futi tukayebwela tushupa leji. Nga batupelo tuma namba. Desu namba yafikiro de tukesapoka leji. Yale kokola sana ilo 1 week yale kokola kwati ne leji andi elo baishe tukopa leji ile 10 kumpika. Yaishe 10 muno mulusaka so kula kumpika ifu baide yibwesha na futi elo baishe tuletera bali bomba ku babanda.
On a day-to-day basis, hundreds of people find their way to the national registration centers seeking this national recognition, which is a mandatory requirement stipulated by Chapter 126 of the National Registration Act. Periodic mobile registration is also an initiative the Ministry of Home Affairs wants to enhance this year, having provided 25 million kwacha for the process in order to reach citizens in far-flung areas. Most of Zambia's population is found in rural and peri-urban areas. At least, the Home Affairs Ministry acknowledges that many citizens are deprived of this very important document. The man at the helm of the ministry, Davis Muller, outlines policy to decentralize issuance of the NRCs.
We've budgeted for 25 million kwacha, and we are going to start periodical mobile registration in April, and we will finish in December 2015. The National Registration Office, that is the Director General, will come up with, or they will identify the district in which we are going to do the periodical mobile registration. So we'll select some districts in the whole countrywide.
Capturing many Zambians living outside the country is another responsibility the department wants to improve on.
For those that went outside Zambia when they were young, immediately they turn 16, they should remember that they should come back home, because we do not have these facilities in foreign missions. And possibly at a later time we may want to think that possibly we can provide that service. But at the moment, it's only issued within the country. So they should come back to the country and register themselves.
Here at the Boma in Lusaka, the News In Depth team found many residents from across the city waiting to have their identification processed. They waited in line along the corridors and nearby trees patiently, waiting to get this document which validates one's nationality. Paithias Lungu is a youth of Lusaka's Chawama compound who has just completed secondary school. He was among many that queued at the Boma in Lusaka to get his NRC.
It was just fine.
How long did you wait?
Like for 3 hours, just 3 hours.
Were you here only for one day or you've been coming back?
This is my first time and I just collected today.
His experience is the complete opposite of 20-year-old Kapia Yamfa, who was in the company of his aunt. Kapia failed to secure an NRC due to the difficulty of getting records from his hometown in Kawambwa.
Uyu mwana wa munyine ifu ba sister besu bafa kale nomba twakwaliwe kwatiye tubafwairisho ko bashere mu mapanga kukawambwa so ero nomba kwaliwe kwatie baisa kuno babina nkashako nomba kwatie nalifo ko kuti atampe kuti mapiswe kale ifwairishako nomba yero atashane twachisana ko pamuno muipa wako wenene na bamukopa nomba yene balefu akadi ya kuchechi saidangana kwata kadi ya kuchechi nangu nakwatako ipepa leringe under 5 nomba abanyine bafire nikale ifo yatuwaliya nako nomba mukumfu abantu ati balechula ero nomba kwali kwati kutuma tumangwe ekwisa leshire kuno nomba yatukwete kadi yako tubamukopia kuchechi tabale pepo ko bali basunga
bali kala mumimana filia abafyashi besu kotwakulire bati atwale na kusukuru filia ichingarengo kwata ready nishinaba nomba mucharo bantu kunchito konse konkafwaya bakafwaya ni ready nemye ndere monse nkalapana ni ready ile ikala suminishiwa tindimo na Zambia.
The long wait in getting this document is an issue of concern for Patrick Chiseke, a resident of Mtendere who feels that the service should be decentralized.
We have got 150 constituents in this country, of which those 150 constituents, they have to put some centers whereby people shouldn't travel miles or kilometers to go and obtain NRC. As at now here in Lusaka, everything is to buy. Just to get a bus, you have to pay. Maybe you are coming from Kabanana, maybe you are coming from Cheston, maybe you are coming from where. The expense is too much. So you come here just to get the NRC. We have so many constituencies. They put it in Matelo constituency, they put in Mandev constituency, they put in Munali constituency, they put in Chawama constituency. They divide those things so that things can be easier for those people who are obtaining the NRCs.
This view is shared by Moses Banda, who waited for over 3 hours to get his daughter's NRC.
At least if they can extend their institution, they put some maybe they have to put some reservoirs somewhere, like branches as in each school. They have to put such branches, which means that process will be okay, and this queue won't be like this.
But Mulenga Chileshe thinks it would be more efficient if the registration department also targeted school pupils, as was the practice in the 80s.
In my case, I got the NRC in 1987. By then, I was in grade 9. So what I can say compared to nowadays is that I think it was easy by then, because the registration officers, they used to come at schools. This time I'm saying by then I was in grade 9 at Kantani Secondary School. Then the officers, they came, they just have to come and check for those who are eligible to get the NRCs.
The long queues are a normal scenario even at the national headquarters in Lusaka, which processes NRCs for those flocking in from across the country seeking first issuance or replacement. It is a challenge the department is very much aware of.
The department is represented in all districts, all established districts. We have our representation there. And besides, even in the newly created districts, we are making strides to open. In fact, by now, if you have been opened, about maybe 7 districts or so, we are operational. So this decentralization, we have done it. For example, in Lusaka, we know that I think we have a bit of some congestion, but we decided to open Chirenje, and we are soon opening Matero. And of course, outside Lusaka, we have Rufunsa, which is about to open as well. And we are looking for a place also like in Chawama and Charleston, that we should completely decongest the headquarters and the Boma. So once this become operational, I'm sure will become this will create a very good environment for our citizens to access the documents. So decentralization key, and we are on it.
The long wait also appears to be a major grievance for those seeking replacement. This is as a result of loss, wear and tear, theft, and missing identification cards that requires citizens to apply for replacement. Bernard Tembo had a unique experience, noting he had challenges getting the process completed due to failure in getting a government receipt from the police.
Getting the police report, had gone to City Market, Katondo, Central Police itself, being the Central Police in town, and I found that they didn't have the government receipt. Hence they refused to give me the police report. They said we can't issue you the police report minus the government receipt, which is this one here. Okay, so, and then from there I had to go to Kawata. That's when I managed to get one. Yeah.
But police argue that Bernard's experience is an isolated incident because the service facilitates access to police reports and GRZ receipts with ease to aid the work of the registration department.
What we have is we have a quartermaster, that is our supply section where we distribute stationery. If a police station does not have stationery, they are supposed to report to their quartermaster, the stores officer, and they're supposed to be issued with the stationery, the necessary stationery that is required, that is the police report itself. As for the receipts, of course, the usual government procedures where they have to come in. We don't produce the receipts as Zambia Police, they're just issued to us. In N district, we have a lot of stations and police stations, the police posts. So in an event where one goes to one post or station and they're told that they don't have the document at that particular time, they've got every right to go to the next station. But the possibility of one bouncing at more than 2 stations is not just there, because there's no way we can stay without police reports.
The registration department explains why the replacements are given under strict measures.
You know that this is the headquarters. We keep records for the whole country. And then for those people who come for replacement, most of them we attend to them in good time. But again, we have a challenge on those records that are not yet here, they're still in districts. Because the procedure is that when one applies for a replacement, a verification has to be done. So when you come to this office and then maybe it's discovered that the record is still at the district where you got your first NRC, we'll make sure that we verify through either phone, and if there are no phones, we post the form for verification, and whereby you ask the client to come after 2 weeks. As you may be aware that our system is not computerized, so it's really a challenge.
Any loss of our documents, we must have a police report which forms part of evidence. In fact, it's a requirement for us to have a police report. So the police are aware, but of course they can't just issue just because we lost, but you are also subject to interview. Possibly they may be giving to a wrong person. For example, you find that most of the people have lost these cards. They are found in bars and so on. So any fraudster would pick on one of those, get the information on that document, then they come to us, they say, I lost this document. But if you subject them to interviews, they will be exposed, and of course, they will run away. That has been happening. So let us keep our cards properly and ensure that they are under, is it lock and key? So that nobody accesses them, especially when we go to drinking places. We should ensure that we are only taking out money in that pocket and not the ID.
Low staffing levels is one of the major challenges in the poor service delivery by the National Registration Office. Only 320 members of staff countrywide work for this highly demanding institution. This is out of an establishment required of about 650. Not forgetting the much-needed infrastructure development to suit the growing population.
From the time this department was created, the structure has remained very static. It's not growing. Against the population that has been growing at a very fast rate, you may wish to know that now, of course, according to statistics, we are about 13 million. Against the structure of this office, which is now has a staff of about 320, which is not enough. But then we wrote to government. Government has agreed that this structure be expanded.
Government is aware of the challenges at hand and notes that it is making headways to address these challenges. So far, government has spent 2 million kwacha in the construction of new registration offices, while rehabilitation has cost the state 1.1 million kwacha in several districts across the country. Mr. Mwila says substantial funding will still be provided for infrastructure improvements for this instrumental government department.
We have built a new office in Mongu, Lukulu, Kapirimposhi, Luangwa, Nyimba, Katete. We rehabilitated some of the offices, like at headquarters, Lusaka Boma, Chipata, Petauke, Lundazi, and Ndola.
This identity contributes to social and economic development in many ways. It is a major prerequisite for those seeking advancement in education, new employment opportunities, or travel from one destination to another. Institutions like airlines, banks, military wings, and the government often require national identity authentication. The Zambia Federation of Employers outlines why this is imperative.
In this country, in our labor laws, there is a provision in terms of the minimum age at which one should be employed. Now, it's only through obtaining one's Nrc that the employer will be able to know the age of the person that they are employing. There's also the issue of retirement, that when someone is engaged, the next thing is to retire. So we have to know when this person is due for retirement. And that can only be possible when you have a copy of the Nrc. Now, the other reason also is that we need to know whether the person we're employing is a Zambian or is a non-Zambian. Because to employ a non-Zambian, as you are aware, everywhere in the world, there's a requirement that such a person should obtain a work permit. But then, if one is a Zambian, he does not need to get a work permit.
While access is a major interest, national security also borders on this card. The new national registration card has had to change to suit the security threats of the 21st century, such as identity fraud and terrorism. Today, the national registration card has a security code that makes it difficult for unsolicited individuals to duplicate and pose as imposters. More so, new trends in the modern way of life have necessitated highly secure identity documents with new security features to avoid forgery of the national IDs. The National Registration Department has had to consider the digital option to improve features of this document, and progress has been made to have this digitization begin in 2015.
A very successful bidder won the tender, and it was awarded to Demalog of a German company, and that's the one that we're working with now. We are at the stage of equipment installed in Lusaka province, and we are about to complete the installation of the software. Soon after that completion, which must take place within the month of February, we should do the test runs. Once the test runs are done and that it proves that this is correct, then we'll wait for our Honourable Minister of Home Affairs to make a ministerial statement in Parliament. Thereafter, it will give us now the courage and everything else that it takes for us now to start advertising, telling our citizens that there is this process.
The intentions have been welcomed by those with suggestions on the major improvements the National Registration Department needs to make.
Process ya kukonka finga chakwe batofu barefo kuchitaba government na tufure twakonke fo fini kani ishofu barefo abachite tuparofo tuingachita
ifunde kuti twasuminishe abene aba government ngabe ko kwati chintu chite chintu chaso na ife kuti twakonka muri cye chintu aba government cyo basuminishe ko kwati chintu chite chire chintu tufuye twachikonka na ife
Government supports this process fully.
To have some security features whereby no one will manage to forge a new registration card. Secondly, it will have more details on an individual. For example, where someone stays. And once you shift, you can go to the National Registration Office and make amendments to that. So that will help a lot.
The Registration Department has a huge responsibility which requires urgent attention.
Thank you for watching the News in Depth. We hope the program was both informative and educative. Please join us again next week for another interesting documentary. My name is Kaluwa Champo, saying goodbye and God bless.